Each grueling day, then, for the next 3 days, we writhed our way up Suribachi while throwing everything we had at the enemy's caves and pillboxes. Mostly we relied on men on foot, with no armor but their courage. Outstanding was the courage of PFC Don Rule, who captured a blockhouse, destroyed a machine gun nest, and with his sergeant was attacking a pillbox when a grenade was tossed down. Rule leaped on the grenade, giving his life to save the life of his fellow Marine. During World War II, 27 Marines, like Rule, won the Medal of Honor by throwing their bodies on grenades to save the lives of their fellow Marines. Our most effective weapon on Iwo was the flamethrower, whose flick of fire, like an anteater's tongue, curled into every crevice and flushed out the hidden enemy. This was indeed their time in hell, even more than ours. Finally, on the 5th day, we sent a patrol to the top of Suribachi. There, they raised a small flag. "It's the flag," a Marine nearby shouted. "They've raised the flag on Suribachi." And down below, though they were still locked in bitter fighting, they looked up and they cheered. But the flag was too small to be seen by the fleet at sea, so a second patrol was assigned to raise a larger flag. Watching the second flag raising, Secretary of the Navy Forrestal said, "The raising of that flag means a Marine Corps for the next 500 years." But of the 6 Marines who participated in this historic moment, 3 would never know its importance. Within a few days, they were killed in action on Iwo Jima. And though the flag proclaimed that Suribachi was ours, the fierce fight for the bulk of Iwo Jima remained. Yet the beach was now free from bombardment, so that some of us there could take a brief time out.
Make mine water. Why, half the population of our nation would sooner stand on their ear than ever expect to hear a Marine say, "Make mine water." But there's only one way to remove the grime of our time in hell, and that's water. I don't care if I have to share. Semper Fi, I got my water. Lots of water. Make mine water. Someday far from here, I'll try some beer and even gaze with passion at the officer's liquor ration. But right now, Mac, it's water. Water, water, lots of water. Make mine water.
Worse even than the battle for Suribachi was the day-after-day ordeal of attrition against the northern series of ridges known as the Meat Grinder. Our only respite would come towards the end of the day, when there was a chance for a little dirt-seasoned food and similarly seasoned conversation.
This food's so bad, we should feed it to the Japs.
You don't like my cooking, go back to your wife.
Right now, I'd go back to anybody's wife.
This garbage reminds me of a diner I used to eat at, back in Jersey.
Newark?
No, Jersey's got more than Newark. I'm from Passaic.
All I ever heard of is Newark.
Didn't you ever go to school?
Yeah, Austin High, Chicago. I flunked out.
They used to feed us slop like this in the dorm.
Dorm?
Yeah, I had a semester in college.
Big deal. So here we are in the same lousy hole.
Despite our firepower, we had in 7 days, at a cost of 8,000 casualties, seized less than half of the 5-mile-long island. During the next 2 terrible weeks, the mileage rate on Iwo would remain fixed, 4,000 Marines per mile. Yet Iwo's battlefields looked like almost lifeless studies in surrealism, an emptiness characteristic of most infantry combat in modern war. No masses of men moving to a dramatic confrontation. Only a few lonely figures scurrying against the skyline, fired upon by concealed defenders who usually remained invisible, even to the men who killed them. The only signs of life were the deadly shellings. From the point of view of the foot soldier, the only man up front was himself, and, hopefully, a cherished buddy or two.
Is it live or die? My eyes asked the corpsman's eyes. But his eyes had learned how not to answer. I turned to the jazz quartet. 4 musicians from the division band, marking time as stretcher bearers. But their eyes were glazed. Too many all-night stands in a dive called Iwo. Get him back to the beach, the corpsman whispered. Sooner he gets blood, better chance. That's all they needed for their downbeat. And so the race began. 4 jazz musicians and 1 dying Marine. Percussion got a little loud, one said, and they picked up the beat again. Faster, boys, faster, I wanted to say, but I didn't have the strength. Neither did they. But they never stopped, playing it by heart, the same sad song 100 times a day. Yet as they neared the beach, they soared like it was payday, a jam session, Carnegie Hall. For me, it ended on a happy note. I could feel life flowing back into my veins. Soon I was on my way to the ship. There was soft sack, hot chow, a woman's voice. Now there were tears in my eyes. Cheer up, the coxswain said. You got it made, a stateside ticket. How could I tell him I was crying not for myself, but for them? For my 4 lead-footed musicians. For all of them who had to go back and face the music.
Soon the first planes began coming in, proof that our agony in taking this place was not in vain. In all, over 25,000 Air Force crewmen would owe their lives to this island of death. After 4 weeks of combat, of the 21,000 Japanese on Iwo, 20,000 had followed their code and chosen death, by our hands or their own. Less than 1,000 were now becoming our prisoners. Many surrendered only because they were too weak to kill themselves. Others surrendered because despite the decades of indoctrination, they were sick of war and had, at last, lost faith in the militarist code. Others surrendered because, for them, far stronger than any acquired code of behavior was the instinctive drive of man, all men, to live. East or west, it's good to be alive. As for us, it was easy to hate the enemy when he was invisible or far away. Face to face, we found they were human, and so were we, and our humanity responded to theirs. We even gave them our blood. But this man, too, died on Iwo Jima. There, his comrades buried him. Then they bade him farewell. We, too, said our farewells. The death of a fellow Marine is a death in the family. And we could not quit this hated island until we said goodbye to those we knew so well and loved so deeply. On this island of only 8 square miles, we suffered 23,000 casualties, and 6,000 Marines died on Iwo Jima. Many graves bore the inscription, "One more Marine reporting, sir. I've served my time in hell." One more island, and we would be in position for the last islands, the home islands of Japan. But over Okinawa, there was a terrible new weapon, the kamikazes, suicide pilots determined to crash with their explosive-laden planes on the decks of our ships. The invasion of Okinawa was history's greatest amphibious assault, comprising over 500,000 Americans from all branches of service. Surprisingly, our landing was unopposed. Soon we were promenading through the rice paddies, taking in only 4 days all the land we thought would take 3 weeks of bitter combat. But the enemy had saved his forces for a last-ditch stand on a mountainous line across the southern half of the island. We fought in jungle, on coral beaches, and in volcanic sand. Now we were to try mud. We were also to fight here, uniquely for us, in the streets of a city, Naha, the capital of this chain of islands. After the fame of the flag raising on Suribachi, we wanted to be ready for all eventualities. So throughout 83 days of vicious combat on Okinawa, almost every company commander secreted a flag in his helmet. Thus, we were ready for the series of flag raisings that signaled the taking of the enemy's stronghold. These moments of triumph were achieved at the cost of 50,000 American casualties. Yet the distinguishing characteristic of Okinawa was the gentle Okinawans, who had never waged war in all their history, nor ever made or carried a weapon. They were now the innocent victims of history's most terrible war. While we were trying to bring back a semblance of peace to these pastoral people, we learned that a B-29, taking off from an island that we had captured,